Alrighty.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can probably get started. All right. Welcome to tonight's seminar, everybody. I'm Patrick, your host, as usual. Tonight, we do have a special guest. It's Krystian Ruiz. Krystian is the undergraduate assistant director at the University of Southern California for the Daniel J. Epstein Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, right? So that is going to be in their Viterbi School of Engineering. So Krystian can give us some insights into this department and this possible major if some of you are interested specifically in industrial and systems engineering, or if you maybe just have some broad questions about the Viterbi School as well. Krystian and I will try our best to answer your questions on that. So I will also be giving you an overview of USC. USC is my alma mater. That's where I did my undergraduate studies as a classics major a long, long time ago, like 25 years ago by now. But, the school is still near and dear to my heart. What I love about USC, of course, is that, it's a really nice network, right? The Trojan family is an expansive network, especially if you are in Southern California, but just in general in California and the West Coast itself. It's a vast network of alums that are very willing and happy to help each other out. So that's definitely why, I'm glad Krystian's here as well. So Krystian was also at some point a while back, one of our counselors here at HS2. So like I said, he's here to shed some light into, his position at USC and give you some insight into his department. So without further ado, let's kind of get started here. So let's introduce. So the University of Southern California is a preeminent research institution. It's one of the biggest, not just in California, but also across the country, right? It is now ranked 27th overall by US News and World Report. Overall, it's also got some outstanding fields and departments. Among its many strengths, of course, the Marshall School of Business is actually in the top 10 for undergraduate business, which I think is really impressive. Those of you who are interested in business, I would say it makes a lot of sense as well if you're looking for something like international business, or if you want to do something with, let's say, Asian trade, anything like that. USC excels at that. Like they have an awesome East Asian Studies department as well. Just as it, just in case any of you are also interested in both engineering and business, by the way, I just wanted to throw this out. USC also has a couple of majors that allow you to kind of like explore the possibility of both. I think there are partnerships with the Marshall School of Business as well. There is also, I believe it is the Iovine Academy. So if you're interested in tech and things to do with like the music industry or just the entertainment industry itself, that's stuff that USC excels in. But since a lot of our topics of conversation today might steer more towards engineering, a couple of tidbits for you engineering and computer science types. It is in the top 20. It's number 19 for undergraduate computer science, pretty solid overall. If you weren't aware, of course, everybody knows that the Bay Area, Silicon Valley is a huge hub as far as like software development and everything. But even Southern California is booming now, right? So the areas like Irvine and Tustin are growing in terms of like software development companies and just tech companies in general. So USC is actually, a good place to consider. You don't have to think that you have to only go to the Bay Area to study like more technically oriented stuff if you're interested in engineering or computer science. Okay, among its other strengths, of course, number 4 for public affairs. I didn't actually kind of know that until I started looking it up. That's my fault. I guess I don't really necessarily kind of like have a strong interest in public affairs necessarily, but if that's something that you're looking into, yeah, USC is in the top 5. Its MBA program is ranked number 9. And of course, I don't know, I beg to differ about this, but the Hollywood Reporter ranks its film program number 2. I think some other publications will rank USC's cinema and film department as number 1. I certainly think so, depending on what you want to study. I think schools like NYU probably better if you're going to be a director or some aspects of film, like if you're going to be a screenwriter or something. But like film production, there's no comparison. I think USC is definitely going to be head and shoulders above any place that you would consider if you're going to go for something along those lines. Okay, a little bit about the school. It was founded in 1880, which doesn't make it the oldest necessarily. It's the second oldest. Loyola Marymount, if any of you are familiar with this, that's the Jesuit school that's very close to the airport, around like Westchester, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overlooking the ocean and everything. Gorgeous campus, but it's smaller. It's definitely smaller than USC. So I think if you're looking for like a large research university in the LA area, USC is definitely the one that you'd probably be looking at. Okay. Of course, Caltech is also there. Your Big Bang Theory fans and stuff, like, Caltech, of course, is definitely very well known, but it's a much smaller campus, right? So USC fits the bill for a wider range of fields that you might be interested in. Okay, some interesting tidbits about the school. USC in recent years has really striven to have much more diversity on its campus, right? So this is a really, really laudable fact. Over 22% of incoming freshmen are first-generation college students, right? So definitely giving opportunities for students who may not have had as much of a chance. That's definitely something that I feel is a valuable part of the USC experience. But it's also a very, very cosmopolitan campus, right? So 26.6 national students. Please not a surprise. I remember that it was a very diverse campus. We had students from all around the world, right? From Europe, Africa, South and Central America, obviously Asia, very going to be heavily represented at USC as well, right? So it'll feel like the United Nations. That's a good thing about the campus, right? It's gotten much more rigorous academically in more recent years, I would say, right? So
Absolutely.
the middle 50% of average unweighted GPA ranges from a 3.77 to about a 4.0, which means the top 25 to 30% of USC students have straight 4.0 GPAs, okay? So it's a very hard school to get into these days. In fact, we will take a look. Oh, by the way, before I get into the acceptance rates, USC, like the Olympics is going to be in LA soon, right? It has the most number of Olympic gold medalists and also overall medalists of any American university. So if you're a scholar athlete, if you want to participate in sports as well, that's one of the things that USC is definitely going to be able to help you with. It's just a top-notch institution overall, especially for its athletic scene. Okay. Now, yes, let's talk about the acceptance rates at USC. It has gotten much more selective. Of course, this does represent a broader trend. It's not just USC, right, to be honest. Although USC is definitely getting a lot more attention these days. A lot more people are applying to it, and its reputation overall nationally and internationally is definitely rising up as well. And then it's viewed in that same elite category as a lot of the schools in like that top 15 or top 20 category. So as you can see, in just a short span of about like 8-9 years, it's gone from about a 16.5% acceptance rate now down to under 10%. Okay. And this is not just because they only accept a small number, they actually accept quite a lot of students, right? In the thousands, right? So I think the incoming class at USC is probably like what, 6,000 or 7,000 for each undergraduate class. It's pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very big.
Right. So, and there is like a lot of diversity there as well, but it also goes to show that they are really upping the standards and the qualifications for who gets into USC. So if USC is your dream school, you definitely have to up your game because there's a lot of competition. Okay. All right. So having said that, I'm going to start moving on and talking about a little bit more about the Viterbi School of Engineering. Right. So Krystian is in that department, but I do want to give you a little bit of the overview here. So Viterbi is definitely a very, very strong school on campus. When I was attending, the president of USC was a very well-known engineer named Stephen Sample, who had a lot of like patents he developed. And he just definitely wanted to be able to raise the profile of USC. And we've seen that over the course of many years. Of course, now we've gone through several other presidents, over the last couple of decades or so, but we've seen this in terms of USC's increasingly more competitive profile for engineering, right? And, the fruits of his labor and his and his successors trying to increase the profile overall of the university, especially the engineering school. Okay. All right. So a little bit about the Viterbi School. So overall, we can see here it's excellent in a lot of different fields, right? So it is ranked number 23 overall. So it's in the top 25 overall for engineering. But as you can see, it's excellent in a lot of other different subfields here, right? We can definitely see that it's very strong in fields like computer engineering. Krystian's own field, industrial manufacturing and systems engineering, is ranked number 13 in the country, right? So very, very good overall, in terms of the competitiveness level. Okay. Let's see. So basically with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Krystian, who can tell us more about his department.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Pleasure to see you all. Let me just bring this up real quick. There we go. So, just to start off with a bit of more key facts within USC Viterbi, obviously Patrick went over the 8 distinct majors like computer science, biomedical engineering, aerospace, and mechanical engineering. Some other key facts for students who are interested within Viterbi. Students are allowed to change majors at any time. There is quite a lot of fluctuation of interests. That's what college is all about. Many departments also offer minors, specializations, and even progressive degrees within their own department. So say if you have a vexed interest in computer science, but you're in biomedical engineering, you're able to kind of meld those two worlds with a minor or a specialization, and even in some programs, a progressive degree, which allows you to get a master's degree during your undergraduate time. In terms of undergraduate research, we actually offer plenty within each department, with the big one being the Center for Undergraduate Research in Viterbi Engineering, where you're working with specific faculty, department chairs, and in some cases, deans, depending on the research and obviously your class level. With some new degree requirements actually being added to include AI and machine learning, not limited to my own department in industrial and systems engineering, but this is a sweeping change going throughout the entire school itself as well. So for those of you interested in AI and machine learning, you can be rest assured your major within Viterbi is probably going to be having it by the time you're all in. But to give a little background on industrial and systems engineering, industrial systems engineers work to improve processes, systems, and organizations. The education provides the skills and foundations to design, analyze, and optimize complex systems, whether that is inventory management, production planning, facilities planning, really any aspect. ISC is a huge part of it and can have a really big emphasis in a lot of different fields. Industrial systems engineers are productivity catalysts, managing the combination of physical capital and human resources needed to produce and deliver valuable goods and services. And that can range from really anything from, say, your phone being delivered to you. An ISC person probably got that whole factory going and all the systems in place so it can be delivered to you, that store that you had it from. And that's just a very small example. Some key facts specifically about my specific department and its major. We have about 2,000 students at the undergraduate and graduate levels, with a huge emphasis of the undergraduate education being on data analysis, optimizations, and human systems interaction. Within the whole school of Viterbi itself, I would say we have a little bit more lenient requirements as opposed to other majors, just due to the flexibility and nature of that industry that we are a part of. Many of our students have had career paths catered to their interests in consulting, systems engineering, data science, business, product engineering, and management. But from the undergraduate student population I work with, I've seen them be able to really apply their degree to any sort of field that they've really felt necessary. For instance, I've had a few students who were really into music production and had a double major at the Ovine and Young Academy that Patrick had mentioned. But like all Viterbi majors, there's a wealth of academic and professional student organizations inside and outside of the classroom as well, for those of you interested on getting involved on campus. So to kind of give you guys a snapshot on what a Viterbi major kind of looks like, here is an example of our degree requirements. You have your general education courses. You have your general education courses right here. Everyone has to do them. That's kind of the bulk of a lot of undergraduate courses you guys will be taking during your first and second years. But a big thing that I also want to emphasize is the math. Any engineering discipline that you guys will be going into will be including math. So I believe it's very important to kind of show that not only in your high school education, but also in any advanced coursework that you guys might be looking at for application purposes. All engineering disciplines really emphasize math to a good level, and that's not to say that if your math is not necessarily the highest right now, that you should not look towards engineering. There's plenty of students that I've seen come in just with, say, basic calculus, and then they work their way through that degree. Whereas I've had other students on the other end of that spectrum who have basically completed most of the math and have to take linear algebra and differential equations. So don't let this big mountain of math deter you. It's very important for any sort of engineering discipline, and it's great to show in your application. So if there is an emphasis I could give you guys on applications, it's going to be math and some sort of STEM, but other APs also work great to those strengths as well. But to give you guys an overview of what sort of classes are required of an industrial and systems engineer, I would say the meat and potatoes of that class would be probability modeling and data analysis. That's going to be the foundation of this specific major. But if you're interested in something like data science, AI, and machine learning, it uses data analytics and our course ISC 330 right here called optimization. How to make any system, any function operate at its maximum efficiency for the most optimized output. So those kind of serve as the cornerstones, with other aspects that you'll definitely see in the engineering field, like engineering project management, our ISC 315 course right here. Human factors and work in systems design. So these serve as a bit of more of a human factors approach towards engineering. So that one goes into ergonomics, user design, and user interface. How do you interact with any sort of product? And then you have some other courses along with 8 general electives you're allowed to do. Is everything okay? Well, I'll keep going nonetheless. So let me go ahead and clear. Perfect. So next would be a prerequisite flowchart, just to kind of show you guys what the structure would look like if you're going to say our engineering programs here at USC or Viterbi, but you'll most likely see the structure throughout any sort of university that you're going to, even if it's not good old USC. Georgia Tech, for instance, has a very, very good industrial engineering program. Michigan as well, just to name a few. But this flowchart is kind of meant for students to kind of visualize what does their path look like, what's the emphasis of a specific major. For instance, if you're looking at computer sciences flowchart, their courses have a little bit more of a coding emphasis, whereas we have specifically 2 like ISC 150, ISC 382. But as you can see here, that math is very imperative for this type of major. But all these courses, as you'll see, lead into each other. They build upon each other. So it's very, very important to have that kind of academic foundation. And in however ways you guys can kind of show that with, APs and Calculus BC, taking college level coursework at either university or community college to get maybe Calculus 3 done or linear algebra. I've seen other students take advanced coding courses or having certificate in order to prove or have some really great evidence for a computer science major, as that's getting more and more competitive and impacted these days. But that's a very small snapshot. What you also might see that our department offers, and I know this is offered as well in departments like aerospace engineering and mechanical, is a senior design project, which kind of serves as a sort of consulting type internship where you have a client with a group of your cohort working on specific real world projects that kind of give you that professional experience that you can put on a resume. As the end goal of college is either go more into academia for your master's or going straight into into the workforce. And those kind of courses kind of serve as a good inflection point for students to decide whether they want to continue with academia in the master's or going straight into the workforce, maybe even shifting industries, maybe because a client was maybe not the industry that you were interested in. Moving on. Oh. So, advice that I would have for strong applicants to USC Viterbi, the obvious are, the big 3 that the HS2 counselors and even I would say as well are, GPA, activities, and writing/application. Academically, I see students from all walks of life. But I do suggest you focus on your strengths and excel. AB, IB, and community college courses or university courses are great ways to show emphasis and high levels within a certain degree area that you kind of want to show off. Activities are perfect ways for you to show your passions outside of academia while also adding context to you in your application. Say, for instance, business students, it's always encouraged that you guys have a sort of, have you started your own business? Have you started a nonprofit of some kind? Have you done something outside of the classroom as some high schools might not offer something to kind of show that business acumen? What have you done outside that's kind of supplemented and pushed your path towards, say, business if you're applying to Marshall, for instance? So activities are important to provide context for you, but, and this will lead into the next point, is that the application is meant for you to collect your experiences as to give admissions context for your application. Think as to why have you put in so many hours of work applying for these colleges, going throughout high school, taking these wonderful APs and activities. You're putting in a lot of hours, so you have to really think as to why are you doing that? What is this leading towards? And I've seen that makes for some particularly great and impactful personal statements and essays. I do want to add as well for strong applicants is the USC prompts are designated by school. So for instance, within Viterbi, we ask you to write about the grand challenges, which go into 5 distinct pillars of engineering that each degree program within Viterbi tries to emphasize. I definitely suggest you look at these common application questions ahead of time and kind of take some time to really think about how you would answer that with context to your activities, your GPA, the time you've put into every aspect of what you do on the day-to-day. But that was a very broad snapshot of USC Viterbi, the ISC department in general as well. If you guys have any sort of questions, you're always welcome to reach out to the ISC department. We love having inquiries of for students. For in particular, I would say business students. If you wanted some of that more technical skill within your major or degree, ISC, in my humble opinion, is one of the best ways to kind of learn business and be valuable to any business with that data analysis and optimization you can bring. But for now, I would love to open up the floor to a Q&A if you guys would like.